Hello, everybody. It's time for February's Technique Time class featuring the Darling Donkeys stamp set, which you can get for free for just a few more days with a $50 purchase from the celebration brochure. So be sure to check that out. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. Or if you need more information, just send me a message and I'll get back with you. It's good to have you here. And let's start with just a little bit of business and then grab your kits and let's begin. So we'll start, I'm gonna flip my camera so I can show you a few things, and then we're gonna get our fingers inky and we're gonna have some fun just making these three really cute Darling Donkeys projects. Hee-haw! As Jolinda just said in her comments. That's funny. Nicole, hello Liz. My mom was able to pick up my farm order so I can be live. That's cool. I'm glad you're here. And Madeline, I'm glad you're here as well. So, and I see a few others. I'm not quite sure because you haven't said. So, Catherine Salisbury. Okay, hello, Mom. glad you found the video spot where to be. So, anybody else? I'm glad you're here. So, shut your eyes for just a second while I flip the camera down onto my table. Here we go, folks. So, shut your eyes. Okay. Let me just kind of tighten this in. Work a little bit on the lighting. Okay, so I mentioned a little bit of business before we begin. The first bit of business is next week will be my Paper Pumpkin Upstyle class. That will be on Thursday, a week from today at 10 o'clock. And it will be a Facebook Live class in my public page. So if you're wondering the difference, so this technique class is in the private group. And then, but my Paper Pumpkin will always be on my page where you don't have to be invited. Anybody can come and watch that if they'd like. So that will be in a week. Whether you have the kit or not, join along because you might learn a new fold or something that spurs your creative juices. So that'll be next week. There will be a recap on Friday night just to visit and recap and answer any questions. All right, so that's next week, March 4th. And then later in the month of March, Technique Time will be focusing on the Simply Succulents bundle. So that is a stamp set and a die set that is to die for. Seriously, the dies are so fantastic. You get dies to cut out the stamp images, but you also get some labels in there. You get a really cool background piece. So that is going to be fun. In fact, I did a card earlier this week for hand-stamped sentiments. This is one that I made using that bundle. And super, super fun. So you get the pot, you get the different succulents, the stamps, and the dies to cut that out. Just, it's a fun set. I hope you'll join me. Suzanne, hi Liz. I'm glad you're here, Suzanne. It's good to have you on board with us this morning. So that is at the end of the month. That will be March 25th and 26th. So it will be live just like we are today. On a video class, which you can catch on a replay if you need to. And then we'll meet again Friday night if you have questions, and we'll actually go through some of those cards as well. A little bit more, more doing on that Friday night than the Paper Pumpkin Friday night. So, and just like tomorrow night, if you need to want to stop by tomorrow night on Zoom, you can. Definitely join in with us. That will be fun to see each other and chat, ask questions, and I will go through the projects again. So if you want to just sit and finish those together, we can. So for a few more days, we have February's hostess code, which is right here. You can take a screenshot of that if you would like to have that host code handy, because with this host code and a $50 purchase, you can get anything you want from the celebration brochure, and it ensures that you are on the list for March's kit for the Simply Succulents class. So be sure to use the code so that you can get into the class for free. All right, and that's through the end of February. So February 28th, those darling donkeys go away in any of those papers. So be sure to join us for celebration if you want those, anything in that catalog before the end of the month. Okay, so today we are using the Darling Donkeys stamp set. And, you know, this set just makes me happy. You know, it's really out of my comfort zone, so to say. It's not something that I would typically buy, but when I see sets like this, I like them. Like the alligator one in the January-June catalog and the shark, they make me happy too. So, I don't know. I guess I like sophisticated stuff, and then I also just like some fun, cheery stuff. Okay, so let me show you a few samples. So get your ninja fingers ready to take some pictures if you would like some more Darling Donkey samples. This I made in the fall when I first got this stamp set. So that's why you've got kind of a fall feel to this one. But this little donkey, it's a girl to me. And she's demure and she's happy to be with the gang. And then this one I did earlier in the year as well. And I like this guy, the dancing donkey. He's kind of bucking his feet up, kind of like a bucking bronco. And I did this one recently. And I love the simplicity of this card. In fact, this card uses the Stitched with Whimsy dies, which you are going to see in your kit in just a few minutes here if you haven't already opened things. We're going to use that a couple times. And then this last card here is pink camo. So Jolinda and I talked about pink camouflage earlier in the week, but I like pink camouflage. I'll wear any color camouflage. But anyways, I like these little donkeys here. I used all three. So, and again, I've used the Stitched with Whimsy die. I don't know if you can see that detail. It might be a little hard to see with that camouflage, but just, you know, having a good time with this set. And I think I will keep it out and use it even after celebration, for sure, for sure. Okay, so that is a little bit of that. Let's begin with stamping for sure here. So go ahead and grab your packet that has a basic gray card base, and it has a piece of the black. So this is the one you're looking for. And let's empty the contents of this. And I have some extra stamped donkeys already done. So if you see some things of mine that look a little different from yours, it's just because I'm a little ahead of the game. Okay, so all these bits and pieces for this one card, but this is a really cool card. The card that we're going to make, I'm calling it a fusion buckle, a friction, sorry, I always say fusion, I don't know, a friction buckle, because it's held in place with friction, and it is a buckle, and it's without the belt. Because you know me, I like a belly band or a belted card, so it's that sort of thing. Other people call it slide and lock. The first person that I saw it months ago, she says it's held in place with friction. So I just have always called it a friction buckle. So here's the card. Let me show you the card that we're going to do. I love this little donkey. I'll tell you what inspired that in just a few minutes. But this is the friction buckle here. Is all you do is slide it off, and then it opens up for a super cute card with all those donkeys just kind of, cheering on whoever you're going to give this to. So the difference with my buckle or slide and lock from everybody else's is I have included some subliminal directions. So Jolinda had asked earlier, she goes, do you think people will know how to open it? Well, I think we got to give them more credit than some people are kind of dingy, but I'll put this back together, and I'll show you the easiest way to put this back together is to slip it on the bottom and then just pop it on the top like so. But you could try and slide it back on. It's easy. But if people really don't know how to open it, they'll just go like this and kind of pop it apart, and it might fall off. But I've included, and I'll show you from the back side here, we're going to include an arrow on here, and the arrow and the bow kind of act as a tab, as like pull this direction, slide. So that's why I've included that. And if you saw my blog this morning, you'll saw that I did another version of a slide and lock friction buckle card. Okay, so let's get this going, and let's actually start with a little bit of stamping, because I really want my ink to dry before I do anything. So I'm starting with an archival pad. So you could use black StazOn. I'm using my old basic black from Stampin' Up, and you can see mine is old, but this is my favorite black ink of all that we ever had. I like it better than the StazOn. My StazOn, no matter how much I re-ink it, it's sticky and it sticks to the paper, and I don't like that. So I'm inking up the donkey on in the basic black and stamping it on the Misty Moonlight paper here. And I'm gonna let that just really soak into the paper and dry before we do any coloring. And we're gonna do a little bit of what I call milk painting, and that is just adding white ink to a, making sure my stamp is clean for later, using a little bit of white ink to add some detail to the donkey. Okay, so I'm gonna let that dry, and then let's go ahead and actually work some of these pieces right now. Hello, Kayleen, glad to see you here. I'm gonna set this one aside. So let's start with our gray. This is our card base here, and I've already scored it for you. And if you open up your card base, you'll notice that it has, that this piece here, and I'll kind of turn it so you can see the whole thing. It's 4 1/4 inches wide by 11 inches long, and we're gonna turn it and make it a gatefold. Now, to make this gatefold match perfectly, I didn't, for some of you that have the mailed kit, I already flipped this one down for you. I scored it. But really and truly, to me, the best way to make a gatefold meet perfectly is to do this second fold by hand. And just bring that in, touch those pieces nice and crisp, and then give it a good burnish with your bone folder. Okay, so that's how we're gonna start. Then grab your, and we have lots of pieces of paper here, grab your piece of designer series paper. This designer series paper, the back side has kind of a fun tulip print on the back, but this designer series paper, we used it last month as well as this month. This is the flower and field paper in the celebration brochure. So you can earn this pack for free. This has been such a favorite of mine, and I love how this, the whimsy of this fits with the whimsy of the Darling Donkeys stamp set. And I kind of reserved these blue shades for this part of the class. Kind of had things worked out in my mind ahead of time, which is unusual. Okay, so I'm bringing in my stamper, my cutter and trimmer here, my cutter and scorer. And I've given you a piece of 4 by 6, but we're gonna trim this down, and we're gonna trim it down to 5 1/4, because that's gonna be the front panel of our card. Okay, 5 1/4. Save this piece, because this piece is going to layer onto our arrow. So, all right, keep that handy. Now, before you take your trimmer away, I want you to trim this piece of DSP. We're gonna take this and we're gonna cut it down to 1 7/8, okay? So you're going to trim 1 7/8 inch off, okay? So now I have a piece that's 1 7/8, and then this lower half will be for our card. So now we're perfectly measured to glue these on. So let's glue these 2 pieces on. Oops, I forgot to get glue out. Hello, glad it's right behind me. Okay, and watch, I've pulled one that's kind of clogged. Hopefully it's not. Okay, so I'm gonna glue this on, and I'm making sure that I'm putting this bottom piece, because I don't want to turn it. I want to keep it this way so that these two pieces meet together. Which, if you're wondering why I'm making you trim paper, that's why. Okay, we've done this in the past. That way you have your pieces flow together nicely. I might need to grab a different glue. Sorry. Oh, come on now. All right, hold on 2 seconds, folks. I have another one ready to go. This is the one that I was using last night. This one should be, you know, when you let them sit a few days. There we go. Okay, so I'm just using little bits, and I go pretty light on my glue. I don't know about you guys. Okay, so now I need to make sure I'm doing this the right way. Okay, so I'm going to glue this right up to that edge, and then just center so that you've got an even border all the way around. Okay, same thing with the top half. And do, as you flip it over, double check to make sure that your patterns meet. Okay. Looking good. Okay. Now that we have this done, what I want to do, let me slide this one out just a little bit, is in order to make our buckle work, we need to remove some of the thickness right through here. So I'm going to trim off just a little bit from the lower half. You can do either one, it doesn't matter, but I'm gonna trim so I'm using my trimmer. I'm just kind of, you know, I'm taking my paper, I don't know if you can see that, right to so I'm just taking a hairline off. Just remove that chunk, and now our buckle will have space enough to wiggle back and forth. If it's tight, then maybe you just need to trim a little bit more off. Okay, so that's our base work for that. Let's continue and let's make the buckle. So you have a couple pieces, and your pieces, you might have two green, you might have a green and a yellow, and you could use whichever sides you want. Anyhow, what we're gonna do is I had originally cut all the pieces, and we were gonna do a 3-inch square on the front of the card. And I'm like, whoa, that's just too big. It felt a little overwhelming. So instead, we're gonna do a 2 3/4 inch square, which to me fit super nice with the Stitched with Whimsy die to give that a little character right there. So you are going to have to trim these two down. So sorry, but trim them down to 2 3/4 inches each. Okay, and I'm just gonna do both at the same time because this isn't that thick. So there's those. You can keep these if you want. I'm not. It's just, I don't need a bazillion pieces of paper on hand. But 2 3/4. Okay. Take this out of the way. And these are going to fold in half. But you need to think about how you want to fold them in half. I want these two to show as opposed to these two, okay? And so what I'm gonna do is the pattern that you want to show, and it's really not gonna show a lot, but the pattern that you want to show, fold it to the inside, okay? This one could go either direction, but I wanted the green to show. And originally I was gonna incorporate some yellow into the card, and when I did, I didn't like it, so I took it off. Okay, now with these pieces here, we're going to glue these two pieces and make kind of a sandwich. And they're going to glue like so, okay? So let me just add some glue to the back of this one. Either side could be the back at this point because they're the same. You guys are quiet. Anybody have any questions so far? Are you working along with me, or are you just watching and then you'll work on your own time? Feel free to make comments. All right, there we have it. Okay, so I have glued the two halves so you can, and I'll kind of give you, so you can kind of see what's going on if you need to take maybe a picture or something. Does it matter which direction? Oh, that scrolled by so fast I missed it. Does it matter which direction we fold the tulip pattern? No, it really doesn't show. So if I bring mine back, oh, look, mine are both yellow on this one, but you really don't see them. Sorry, I'm not holding it in the camera. So you really don't see them. So no, it doesn't matter which direction you go on the tulip pattern. That's a good question though. Okay. All right, now let's glue this piece on top. And I did give it more glue than I would normally. I don't want it to come oozing out, but it's also gonna take a little bit of, this piece is gonna get handled. So you want enough glue to really kind of hold things into place. Okay, get that to kind of settle down. And I am missing a circle. Did it come out and I didn't see it? Okay. Folks, hold on while I grab another circle. Of course, I don't know where one is. That one's too small. Okay, so grab your circle because that's next. I'm just going to take one from another kit here. So you just need that circle next because we're going to do some stamping for the front of this. And grab some shaded spruce ink and also grab some seaside spray. And those colors have totally been kind of guided by the celebration paper here. So I'm just kind of pulling a lighter color of this Misty Moonlight and then definitely some shaded spruce. And let's use the Hee Haw stamp and the Sparkle stamp. I love little images like this. I think these are hidden gems inside of stamp sets because they just add, they add depth, they add interest. However, I have found that you can go too far with them, which I did the first time. Okay, so I'm first gonna stamp the Hee Haw, and I'm just gonna put it in the 9 o'clock position here, right in my circle. Okay, Hee Haw. Okay, she's a little weird. And then with the Sparkle stamp, I'm just gonna add one on top and twist the stamp always so that they don't land in the same orientation, and then one on the bottom there. And I would suggest, the Seaside Spray seems to dry, they both dry really fast, but I don't know about you, but I always seem to muck up some of these darker colors. So really let that ink saturate down into the paper before you handle too much of that or touch that, I mean, be careful where you're touching. But I'm gonna go ahead and layer this piece on the black scallop circle. Both of these were cut using the layering circles dies. I kind of was in the layering circles, stitched shapes, stitched with whimsy, and stitched shapes, stitched with whimsy, and layering circles. Those 3 die sets for this whole class. I try and keep things kind of similar. Look, see, I mucked it up too soon. Well, hopefully my donkey's ears will cover that. Okay, so now that the donkey, I'm sure it's nice and good and dry, but let's grab your aqua painter and Whisper White ink. And it's with Whisper White that we're going to do what I call milk painting. And so just squeeze your pad, give it a nice squish so that you can collect some ink. I don't know if you can see that because it's white on white, but we're collecting some white ink inside the lid. And now this is where you want to, don't go heavy-handed on this make sure your water painter is working. Grab just a little bit of ink, and you don't want it too wild and crazy wet, because I want to be very controlled right here in the donkey's teeth. And so mine's too wet. I'm not even getting any white showing. So I'm gonna pull just a little bit of water out. You see I kind of grabbed some of that. And I'm gonna take this and I'll do a little bit more water after the teeth, but this space is so tight right through here. And I'm trying not to lose the between the teeth, if you know what I mean. But okay, so I told you I would tell you my inspiration for this donkey's teeth. Do any of you watch repeats of the series Friends? And if you do, you'll know where I'm going to go with this. But Ross on that show decides he's going to bleach his teeth in the show, and he bleaches them so much that when they turn the lights out, all you see are his teeth. And they glow like something from, you know, Area 51 or 52, whatever that's called. Anyways, so just really ink up those teeth so that they stand out and you've got this big cheesy donkey grin. And then I'm adding just a little bit of that to the rose. And again, I'm because the rose and the teeth are so small, I'm trying not to add too much water yet. Then I'm going to go ahead, and now I'm adding just a little bit more water. And I'm going to do the tail and kind of this back spot. I'm going to swoosh a little bit of white in there. I don't want it too much. And the thing is, you can kind of use more water and kind of move this around a little bit and kind of dab like I've done. Now I'm going to go just a little bit heavier in his hooves. Just some things to kind of make this stand out. Since our other projects are kind of white paper with black ink, and we're gonna watercolor, or we're gonna, you know, stamp and blend, however you want to color, I wanted to kind of have a different approach to this as well. So, and I'm gonna do a little bit in his ears, for sure. And the first one I did his muzzle, and it looked stupid, so had to do a new one. Okay, so just as much or as little as you want. And it will dry a little bit lighter than you know, excuse me. And of course, we have to add Wink of Stella. And so I'm just kind of giving this a shake. And where it says push, I'm going to give a little bit of push, and I'm going to, oh, see, now I've got some stuff. Whoa. I have Wink of Stella now where I don't want Wink of Stella, but that's okay. We're going to cut this off. So now I'm just going to kind of paint the whole donkey with a little bit of Wink of Stella, just to kind of really pop this up and make it cute. So yeah, make sure you don't shake it or prime it over your project like I just did. But like I said, that's getting cut off, so it'll be okay. We get his teeth and the rose and his nose. And just gonna kind of color this in the direction, because you know, sometimes Wink of Stella doesn't always offload a ton like it just did. Anyway, so I'm making my donkey real sparkly. Okay, and I'm gonna let that dry. And then I'll cut it out. So you guys, there's a lot of fussy cutting in this class, but that's okay. I've done mine ahead of time, and you won't have to sit and see me do that. I should have painted this one, but that's okay. I'll cut this one out and use it on another one. So you're gonna go in and cut this out. And on our next project, I'm gonna give you some fussy cutting tips. But if you wanna just set that aside, assemble the card, and then come back and cut it out and apply it, you can. But what I'm gonna do is I'm going to put my donkey on, and again, I will color this one later, but I'm going to put it on with some dimensionals here. But as I'm looking at this, I'm just kind of letting you know, I want my donkey to kind of, the rose and the side of his body kind of follow that circular line. And then I'm using his ear and his backside to frame the hee-haw. So I don't need any dimensionals on his legs or his upper ear right in here. So that's guys kind of studying where I needed to put dimensionals. And so I'm using a couple minis, and I'll use one full size right there. And that is like a massive amount, plenty of stick to hold this guy in place. And so he's just gonna kind of come right in here. And I told you the method of my madness. Okay. Okay. Set that aside, and let's grab these two pieces before we glue this on. So in your list of supplies that I sent you last night, we added I added this one. I forgot to put this on the list. I love this punch. So this is how I'm making the arrow. So I'm taking my shaded spruce and I'm setting it in the machine to get a nice end, an arrow end on one end. And on the opposite end, I'm going to flag. And we have instant arrow. Isn't that cute? Okay. So now let's trim this piece down. Actually, let's go ahead and punch the one end. Okay. So now that I have my arrow for this end, I kind of have to determine, and I want it framed nicely. It's like, okay, I'm not sure how much, so I'm just going to kind of, you know, I'm going to cut about that much off. I'm just going to use a pair of scissors here because my piece is longer than what I need. And if this ends up not being enough, I can always just punch it off again. Yep, it's not quite enough, so I'm going to punch it off. I'm going to punch the other end off just a little bit because I got it a little bit off. I'm trying to hold this. Oh, that's much better. Ta-da. Okay, lovely. Glue that on. And you can use seal or tape runner, whatever. I'm just going to use mono glue like I have been. Green cap, whatever you want to call it. And that is going to, and I just realized I made my tulips upside down. Oh well, that's okay. Call it art. So there's my piece there, and punch a hole so that you can put your black and white twine through that end. And I'm going to do that now. You'll find your twine in your smalls bag. Okay. My hole punch is from when I was in like 3rd grade, and so it's kind of losing its oomph. It leaves pieces behind. Okay, so just tying a regular shoestring bow, nothing fancy here. Okay, but tying on in front of people on a live is never so smooth, because like I had it even and then all of a sudden I pulled it funny. It wasn't even. Okay. So regular bow, and you can trim these ends shorter, but I don't know. I have a tendency to like longer tails on the bow. Sometimes I don't, but most of the time I do. But hunker down on that. And then what I like to do is hold the two together and pretend that I'm a really great hairstylist, which I'm not, and then trim that nice and even, even up the ends. Speaking of which, it's been since July since I've had a haircut. I could really use one. Now, we're gonna glue this, but you need to be thoughtful of how you glue this, okay? I guess I could glue mine this way and just pull it that way, but I won't to confuse you guys. I'll do it to the right because I'm right-handed and I pull this way. But as you're looking at this, you want your arrow layers to run parallel with the folds, okay? And I'm gonna put it right on the center of that. So you wanna make sure you do not put the arrow this way. You want it that direction. Hopefully I am making sense. And I'm gonna glue it down. And the reason I'm gonna glue it down and glue it just in the middle so that you don't have stuff sticking out is because, again, there's some movement. It's gonna be handled. And so, and because that's gonna take kind of the brunt end of the force there, I'm not going to use dimensionals, okay? So there's that piece. Now, with this piece here, because it's starting to get a little thick, again, I'm just going to use, and I might put my glue kind of here. I'm just going to use glue again to kind of hold things up. I was afraid I didn't want glue like sticking out, but I realized it's not going to stick out because it's smaller than the square. Okay. Did that make sense? Look, all that, I could have moved my donkey up so that smudge didn't show. Oh well. Okay. So that's where that's going. This is actually, now that this is dry, it turned out really cute. I will save and cut that one out for tomorrow night. And if you're going to come back, you'll see it all cut out nice and cute. Okay, so this is almost done, but go back to your smalls bag. And in your smalls bag, there is an extra smalls bag. So there's a little jewelry bag that has your gems in there. And all of the silver gems are for this little project here. So all the basic rhinestones. And you should have 5 in there. I know, it's like, does it really need 5? But I was having a good time, so yeah, it did. Let's see, getting them out is going to be a pistol. Okay, so these 2 are for later. Okay, save that. We'll come back to that. Okay, so these 5 are going to go on. So you have one of the medium size, and then you have 4 of the littles. And so I'm going to, I put the medium, you can put them wherever you want, but I put the medium one kind of right down in here, and I'm using my Take Your Pick tool. I like the putty end of the Take Your Pick tool. It's easy to kind of pick these rhinestones up, push them around, and then set them down exactly where you want. And I'm doing a couple up top here, and then one more. And I had my donkey lower on this other one, so I think I'm going to put it kind of like right in here. Oh no, the reason I want to put it there, they're not side by side, but they're just a little too close to side by side. So I'm going to move this one. Maybe I'm going to put it over here. Yeah, I do. I like it there. So wherever you want, you know, because we're not machines and we don't make it exactly the same each time, move them around to where it looks good. Okay, so this card is almost done. We need to work the inside. So to stamp the inside, go back to your shaded spruce and seaside spray. And let's do the seaside spray images first, okay? And we're gonna start stamping the inside of this using the sitting donkey. This is kind of the little sweet one. And the first time that we actually stamp this, we're gonna stamp it on a Post-it note. So have some Post-it notes handy. And when I stamp this, I'm gonna stamp it so that the ears and the tail, because they're the most fragile, they are kind of up to where the sticky part of the Post-it note is. And we're gonna cut that out, but I've already had one cut out, so I've got one ahead of time. I always cut at least 2 Post-it notes out at the same time. I know you've heard me say that before, but then that way, you know, you can just store the mask right inside the lid of your case, but you're ready to go and you don't have to keep cutting them. So I've already cut a donkey, but I'm going to stamp this middle one about, so kind of her hind quarters are right on center. Okay, and I'm doing it about 2/3 of the way down. Okay, oh, she's cute. And before I stamp the guy, I call this one, so this is Demure Donkey and this is Don Juan Donkey. Sorry. Okay, I'm gonna just stamp it off a few times because I had stamped with basic black. And even though I cleaned it, I just wanna make sure it's really clean. Before I stamp him, I'm gonna cover her up so that, because I know it's gonna be tight on getting these 3 in here, but that way the tail isn't gonna swish her in the face. And I'm just gonna kind of set this guy right in there. Okay, so there's that. And then keep it there just to be sure that the dancing donkey or the bucking donkey, whichever one. And so this one, I have to be sure I do this in the right direction. So let me open up my card because I did it the other day and I don't know what I did, but it didn't look appropriate. I'm like, whoo, no. Anyhow, so I'm just gonna kind of get this guy right in here. And this one's jumping up in the air, having some fun. I think I had his legs down and his front legs up, and they were on her back. And so that's why we don't want that look. Anyhow, so then when you remove this, you have just a cute little scene of the donkeys here. And now let's go to the shaded spruce and grab the image that says "You're the best." Now, before I actually stamp this, I'm going to stamp it on scratch a couple times, and I'm holding it fairly straight in my hand, the block, but I can see that my stamp image is not stamping straight. So that tells me I'm going to pick this up and move the side down just a little bit so that I can, because the stamp sticker isn't perfect on the image, but I'm working to get this as straight as I can. Oh, that's better. It's still not perfect, but it's a lot better. But I'm going to stamp this. Now I'm going to bring this down so that it's not so far away from me. I'm going to stamp this, and I'm going to kind of hold it straight and hope for the best. It's a little bit funky, but it's close. It's close. But I definitely do the stamping on the scratch paper a few times so that I can, you know, learn how it stamps. And then if I have to hold it and tweak it a little bit, I can. Okay, in your smalls bag, pull out the Hooray. And that is silver foil. And it's already been backed with adhesive for you. So if you have extra little pieces like I do, I have a few here in the bubbles of the letters. Poke those out with your, take your pick tool or a pokey tool, whichever you have on hand. And then use your pokey tool or your fingers to try and get that adhesive to come off the back. There it goes. Okay, so remove that adhesive back and then just stick this right in between the donkeys and the "You Are the Best." And this is just kind of, I'm just centering that, just kind of, there it is, right there. Okay, and then this piece you're going to set inside the card base. Little green cap, multi-purpose glue. Center that. Okay, looking cute. Fold that shut and bring your buckle in. And like I say, to me, the easiest way to reload this is to kind of slip it on the way I'm doing it right now, rather than trying to slide it back on. That's just, you can do it. It just takes too long. Okay, so that is done, minus the coloring. I'll do that off camera. But there you have it, a friction buckle card with some subliminal directions to tell them to slide the buckle off, okay? And so here is the original. Now the pictures are in, if you know where to find the pictures, you go to media and then albums and look for February 21 Darling Donkeys, and you'll see pictures of all of these. But if you want to take a picture, you can. This one's colored in. This one isn't just yet. But there it is. Fun little interactive type card that I thought was fun to do and fun to tackle and fun to improve on things that people are doing. It's like, well, do we know how to open and shut it? Well, let's teach the people how. Let's show them with a little bit of direction. So there you have it. And let's, I'm just going to kind of tidy up the ship here. Because if I don't, I end up destroying things and I can't find stuff by the end. Especially paper pumpkin classes because we do so many projects in those. By the time I'm done, this looks like a war zone. Okay, so the next project we're going to do is another card. You saw this card, and this is a double Z-fold wiper card. And here is the card itself, okay? And grab your packet. So the packet you want has the light blue card and all the other pieces, so grab that. But let me show you this card real fast. In real life, okay, here it goes. He's kind of caught up, but yay! I just think it's cute that he bucks like that. So that's the, oops, he's stuck. There we go. Hey, I'm not sure why he's not going. There he goes. Okay, so there is kind of the fun double Z fold with that swipe that you can use to, and if you want to get real fun, you can actually double and do them both on both sides so that the donkey can come up this way and another one could go that way. But I didn't do that, but you could. So let's make this one. It's not difficult, but let's start with some stamping. In your packet, you have a 1/4 sheet of Whisper White. Now mine has the corner cut off because I'm using a porch packet and I didn't want them to get confused because there are so many pieces in their bags that were similar in size, and this was the one I wanted them to use to stamp on. Okay, so this is what we're gonna stamp. We're gonna stamp with Memento ink, black, and we're gonna stamp 4 donkeys, okay? But you need to leave space for a last one. So let's get these in here. And if you do them this way, you'll be just fine and they'll all fit for you. Okay, so stamp this first one in the bottom corner. Okay, and then let that dry. And then I'm gonna stamp the standing one, but let me clean it. Even though it only had Seaside Spray ink and we're going to black, but even still. While I'm talking about cleaning stamps, these Darling Donkeys are classic red cling mount. So they are the red rubber, the classic red rubber, which to me is superior product to the photopolymer. But these clean better. I mean, here I'm using the chamois. They actually clean better on the old black scrubbing pads. The chamois are great for your photopolymer stamps. So that's what I'm finding. You might find something different, but anyhow, that's my bit of advice, okay? Stamp that one there. And then you need 2 of the dancing donkey in black. Okay, and you can just kind of, they're just gonna kind of wiggle right in here and then get another one way down in here. If you kind of get this one, let's see here, we'll kind of use up, it's like using all of your dough when you're making cookies, when you're cutting them out. So we need this space because we're gonna stamp one more donkey on there for our last project. So there you have it. These all need to be fussy cut out. And so if you're watching the replay, you can kind of pause here and cut those out. or you can, you know, cut and kind of do some stuff, you know, however you want to work. But I do want to give you a few tips on fussy cutting. I already have mine all cut out because I didn't want to sit here and fussy cut 5 donkeys in front of you. So I've started, but I want to give you a few tips. And a few tips, first off, use small bladed scissors that are sharp. If you use a long handled scissor to detail cut, it just doesn't work. You need a short blade, okay? Most of us know that. Most of us also know turn your paper, not your scissor. Here's one that you might not always think of. Don't shut your scissor all the way, okay? Always work with it open. If you clip like that, it bends the paper. It does some weird things. Try not to shut your blade. That's one of mine. Okay, here come the next 2 Liz fussy cut ideas. The hardest thing to cut on this donkey right here is this curve of the tail right there. And it is better when that's out. But how do you get that out easily? If you cut this outside curve first, it makes it really hard to cut that inside one and not bend it. So always cut your tightest curve first, all right? Cut that tight curve first. So you can see as I'm coming around the bend here, I have more paper on this side of the tail that gives me some leverage to keep from bending. You know, the paper's not gonna bend, and I'm just gonna kind of swoop right around there and bring this out. Again, I'm not ever shutting my scissor. I mean, I might on the end of something, but not within the length of an image or the line of the image. Okay, so now, because I have already cut that, the harder, tighter one, this outer one's a little easier to cut, and therefore I didn't bend my paper. That's how I kept that tidy and clean, okay? Now I'm gonna give you one more tip down here on cutting out something like this, or on this donkey here, cutting out that section of the ear, is come around the corner here. Let's get to these little feet. I'm just kind of quickly kind of sweeping that through. Okay, so now when I want to cut the inside out, and look on this card, I noticed I didn't do it, but I did on all of my other ones. That's so weird. It's like I'm not gonna poke my scissor in here and make a hole and try and cut it out. That's just silly. No one's ever gonna know if you slice up, okay, kind of follow the leg, come around, and then go to the outside, and then just kind of push those 2 together with your fingers, and you'll never know that there's a slice in the cut right there. Hopefully that little tip makes sense. Free as a Bird, that stamp set that has all the birds on the branch with the leaves, that I do that all the time to get into the nooks and crannies. I don't sit there and poke a hole. I just cut right up one line and you never even notice. So that's my tip on fussy cutting. Now let's do a little bit, since I have him cut out, let's color this guy. And so I will color these later and cut those out for another project. But for this donkey, I'm gonna use the Smoky Slate, and I'm gonna use the Daffodil Delight, or any of the yellows that you want on Stampin' Blends. So I should have said earlier, if you're going to Stampin' Blend, you need Memento, but if you wanna watercolor these instead, go back to your Stays On or your archival black ink to watercolor, because this is not going to be good for watercoloring, but it's great for blending, okay? So I like to start with the muzzle first. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of yellow into his muzzle, okay, and into the rose and his ears, okay? So I'm just kind of getting the paper, I'm priming it, getting a little wet with the one color. Now I'm gonna come in and add some darker yellow. And I kind of like to come in right around the top of his muzzle maybe a little bit right there, and into the base of his ears, wherever you want. We're just creating a little bit of depth. And now I'm going to go over that again with the bullet tip and blend that. And look, because it was wet, it's kind of already even blended on its own, okay? And just letting the marker do its own action there. I'm going to get that rose even darker just by layering some more color on top. Okay, really get that moving. I forgot to pull out my green. So you just need a little swipe of Granny Apple green in here. I mean, right there in the leaf. And that will tie in nicely to the colors in the paper. We're repeating those colors, by the way. Okay, now let's move on with the gray. And again, I like to use the brush tip to kind of lay some color down. Okay, get it working here. And I'm intentionally not coloring in entire spots, if that makes sense. I'm okay with leaving some white. Ooh, I need to finish the stem of the rose. I'm gonna leave some white space because that's gonna give this donkey a little bit of character, okay? I am not a like great Stampin' Blend. I fake it till I make it. And, you know, it just, yeah. Anyways, I'm going to do a little bit here. I'm going to do some darker in his ears and his hair. And I'm going to kind of follow these, and I'm just going to kind of drop some dots right there. And I'm going to darken his hooves. And, you know, maybe just a little bit, you know, I just kind of wherever. Sometimes I like to leave his belly a little bit more white. It's whatever floats your boat, right? Just kind of get some stuff going in here. Then I'm going to go back to my, and I'm going to take that bullet tip and kind of blend where I've put that ink, that darker ink. Because it's a little harsh, but if you go back and add a little bit more of the lighter ink, it blends that and makes it look not quite, see how this line right here is a little goofy? So if I just kind of scribble right over that, it blends that up just a little bit. Okay. And one more tip for blending. While it's a color lifter, I also find I am able to blend with the color lifter. So I'm just kind of moving things around and softening some of the spots where I've left the white paper show. Okay, his legs are looking a little funky, so I'm going to do just a little bit more defining right there. Okay, and let me go back and add that one last little swoosh of green. Careful here, because it's a little to the rose stem. Okay, that's all I'm going to do on that. Nothing too much. All right, so once you have your donkey, and obviously you're going to cut out and color enough donkeys. You're going to do the little donkey. You're going to do the standing donkey. And then do 2 of the bucking dancing donkeys. So you can see each one turns out a little bit different, but I colored them the same way, the same method. So he's gonna need some dimensionals. So I'm gonna pop 2 on this one on his head. And actually I lied, I'm gonna put 3. I'm gonna go to a mini on his feet down here, okay? So there's a mini there. And so these are prepped and ready to go. These 2 donkeys here do not need dimensionals, okay? So keep those kind of free from dimensional. And those are ready. So let's move on with assembling the card. You have a piece of vellum in your pack here, and it's just a 3-inch by 1-inch strip. And I want you to take the upper right corner and fold it toward you. And you know what? It's so funny. It wants to curl and do other things, but just fold it on a 45. Tell it who's boss, because mine wanted to curl and do otherwise. But just fold that like so. And then one of these donkeys is going to be adhered to that for the swiper. But don't adhere it just yet. We're just getting it ready. And you have a, I'm just kind of unpacking my envelope here. In your envelope, you have a 4 by 5¼ inch white that has been stitched with whimsy edged. How is that? But there you get to see that stitched with whimsy for yourself again. That's the largest of all the pieces. Such a fun set of dies. And that's what it is. It's rectangles and squares in stitched with whimsy. And boy, does it work perfect for a stamp set like this to add some whimsy. Okay, let's pull out more of these pieces in your pack here. Okay, so we have more of the Flower and Field DSP. Okay, there's the back side. And again, all Flower and Field. And then this color here is Balmy Blue. So when I first grabbed this piece and knew that I wanted to use it with the donkeys, I mean, daisies and donkeys, why not, right? So when I first grabbed this, I put it with yellow, hated it. Put it with Granny Apple, Put it with Seafoam Green, which is to me a lighter version of Granny Apple, didn't like it. Then when I pulled the Balmy Blue out, I went, bingo, that's the color I want to use. So Courtney, if you're watching, I need to give you a message, but I'll text you. Look for my text message in just a few minutes after the video. And okay, so anyhow, that is my method to my madness. Okay, your pieces in here. Your pieces, actually, this is a 4¼ by 8½. And so you can get 2 bases and the bottom out of 1 sheet of cardstock. So it's like you have, you know, you just need 1 more of these for that second card. But if you look at it, the score lines are exactly the same. So if you're mass producing, you can score your entire piece of paper and cut pieces and save time, okay? So our fold is gonna go like so. So let's do this. So take this piece and you have your shorter scores over here, fold this one inward, and then this one's going to fold back. Okay, so that's gonna be the first part of our double Z. Okay, so this is the first Z. Now, this piece here is going to flip over and go this direction. And so you're just gonna kind of fold back on it to create another Z, all right? Burnish that nicely. Don't glue anything. Do not glue anything yet. So here is the base. That's how it's going to go, all right? That is the base for our double Z. Okay, so let's actually work on some of these pieces. So this first piece here, this yellow piece, is going to come up in this corner over here. And you could cut a whole piece for this panel, but why? It's going to get covered up. So that's why I've cut that. Okay, and a little bit of glue there. Add this. And when I'm laying this down, I'm just giving myself kind of an even border on the 2 sides and the top. Okay, that one's ready. Now let's take this longer piece here is designed for this front panel. Super cute. This daisy piece of paper, you know, totally charming. The whole pack had great stuff in it. And the thing is, I had just a little bit left, and we're going to use it in our Bouquet of Hope paper pumpkin class next week. The patterns that really match, because that's been designed, that kit was designed to match that paper. Okay, so this one here, like so. Okay, just center that one there. And then you'll notice this one here, it's for this piece here, but it's not cut just yet. What we're gonna do is cut this in half, okay? And we're going to cut it in half. So it's 2½ inches wide, and so by 2 inches, right? So we're gonna cut it 1 1/4. Okay, is that what I wanna do? So remeasure, it's 2½ Okay, I just need to double check that that's the direction. It's been a week since I've made this. Yep, I'm double checking before, you know, measure twice, cut once, right? Is that the same? Okay, 1 1/4. Give that a chop. And what we're gonna do, instead of, you could, if you wanted, you could glue these together like this, okay? I am actually going to flip this one and use the other pattern. You'll see that's what I did on that one. My donkey's not doing his dance. So there it is. So you can decide what you want to do. That's what I'm gonna do, is I am going to flip one of them. Okay. And just add that panel right in there. And then this one here. Okay. So our pieces are almost ready. And I would say, let's go ahead and let's put this side on, just because we're here. Now, I'm gonna be careful and I'm gonna put glue just on this one edge, and then I'll put glue on this edge. Okay, you feel me? The reason is I don't want any extra glue on here. Okay, even though it's the inside of the card, we're trying to keep the ship tidy here. Keep the ship. Hopefully you heard that P in there, as in Paul. Okay. All right, so coming close. We're gonna glue this one on last. But before we do that and assemble, let's do just a little bit more stamping, and let's stamp the inside of this card. And this is where it's gonna be a little bit tricky. So what I want you to do is this, if you remember, I said to have a pencil handy. I want you to kind of lay this piece in, and you could glue it in, but I'm not gonna glue it in just in case I totally wreck it, okay? Because if you totally wreck it, you can always cut a new piece of white and redo it. But I'm gonna kind of hold this in where it needs to be, and I'm going to bring my card over, and I'm just gonna do a very faint line right here, and a very faint line right there. That's kind of telling me where I need to stamp the word happy, okay? It needs to be up, and you can see that it shows when you open the card, but it's kind of hidden. You can kind of read it when the card is closed. So I just want to know where I'm gonna have that land. And since we're stamping with, whoops, I almost dumped something over. With photopolymer, I'm gonna bring out a stamp pad here, a piercing pad rather, and my image, the word happy, is coming from the Pretty Perennials stamp set. So that's the image there, and so I'm using that one and the You Make Me Happy, okay? So the happy is gonna stamp in black, and I'm using the Memento black ink. I do like the Memento black ink. I don't like the jet black stays on. Memento seems to be better. So what I want to do is just kind of make sure I'm okay if I'm kind of the swoop of the Y and the bottom, the descending pieces of the PPY are just a little bit past that line, and I'm just kind of, when I finish stamping this, I'll hold it up and you can kind of see that faint pencil mark where this is going to go. If you stamped on the porch, I had this set up with a Stamp-A-Majig. And that's how I figured out where it was going on the Stamp-A-Majig. And then I adjusted my Stamp-A-Majig to that. Okay, so I'm not quite sure. Hopefully you can see that pencil line there. There's the pencil line. So it descends just a little bit, but I come up to that other one. Okay, once that's good and dry, we will erase that. And I could use the eraser of my pencil, but that doesn't work nearly as well as, we don't sell these, but if you ever come by the chance to get one of these sand erasers, these are fabulous. but I'm just going to take a sand eraser because the sand eraser will also, it won't erase all ink, but if you have a little bit of a smudge, you might be able to get it off. I am still going to wait until that's good and dry because my luck, I'll smear it. So, but just know that I'm going to erase that. Okay, grab some Granny Apple Green ink and the sparkle image. Love the sparkle image. I'm telling you, it's perfect for adding a few things. Giving it a clean so it doesn't have seaside spray. And I'm going to stamp it a few times because it was stamped in another color. And just to be sure that it's stamping in a really clear, true Granny Apple Green. And you can put these little sparkles wherever you want, but I'm going to kind of, you know, the image is telling me to frame some and put them kind of right in this area. Okay, you can add more. I think I just had the 2. No, I lied. I had 3. I have another one down in there. Let me erase. I'm trying not to touch that, hopefully. It's dry enough. Yeah, it's pretty dry. But you know, stamp smart. And just give it just a few seconds more. And then you won't have those smudges. Okay. So right down in there. Cute, right? I mean, just telling you, these are like your money stamps, the littlest ones, those little sparkle ones, the money stamps. Okay, there's our inside, and this is going to, now it's ready to glue on the inside. Okay, just kind of right on the edges here. And center this in this panel, and I'm going to actually take this out of the way. Just in case it has ink on it, which I know it does because I know how I work, right? Okay, there it is. We're getting close to adding the fun stuff. Let's add these 2 donkeys because it's these 2 donkeys on here that then kind of tell us where some of the other stuff is going to go. But I forgot, we have one more little bit of stamping. In your smalls bag, you should have a tiny little strip of Granny Apple, and go back to your banner punch and just punch the one end. Notice this banner punch, so it will do a 1 inch, it will do a 3/4 inch, and a 1/2 inch. So we've used all 3 in today's cards here. So all 3 sizes. Okay, we're gonna flag that end, and I'm gonna rotate it around, and it's gonna kind of come in here, right? So let's stamp You Make Me in black. So again, just the memento is fine. And that's just going to kind of come right there. Ta-da! Cute. So this Pretty Perennial stamp set was designed by Dina Rico, a longtime stamp friend of mine who used to live here in San Jose. And she did it as a $1 Million Achiever set. And this is totally her. This is very much her. So this one's just going to kind of come in here. And I'm going to put this on with a couple dimensionals here. One on this end and one kind of in the middle. And before I peel and stick, I'm going to kind of place my images because he's going to come right in here. And then she's coming in here. So I need to kind of, I was kind of just eyeballing how much of that I needed to trim off. And I gave extra, and I do that sort of thing because, you know, if it's too small and you try putting it in the punch, it's almost impossible, but it just makes it easier to handle and to trim some away later on. Okay, so let's put him down, or glue him down, rather. And I just love how I really like how I've placed this guy. He's just kind of, you know, I like how he swoops up this side over here. He frames this end of our card. And she's gonna come right in here behind his tail. So it's kind of the same position that we did them on the inside of the other card. But this one here, I'm gonna put this one down first because I don't want to have to pick up her head and put it on top of that, okay? So this one's just going to be right about here. That looks good. I think I had it a little higher, so let me make it just a little bit higher. Yeah, that's better. Okay, and then this one I already, like I said earlier, I fussy cut, colored, and even dimensionaled. And this is gonna just kind of sit right in here, like so. Cute, 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 cute. Let's embellish the front of this card. You have your jewel bag that you're going to need again. And in your smalls bag, there is a very small piece of twine. And this is from the well-suited twine combo pack. But just go ahead and tie yourself, I know this is little, but tie yourself a bow, and it doesn't even have to be a good one, because we're just gonna fold the bow in half and then tuck it behind the donkey. But this is where it's like such a little piece. I was running out, that's why they're so small. I'm like, I have to have enough for everybody. Okay. So just kind of make a funky bow. Like I say, it doesn't have to be pretty. And then this is what I do to kind of do this type of accent that I brought in and then took it away real fast. To do this little sort of accent behind her back is I just kind of play with my bow here a little bit because it's a little bit twisted, but just untwist it, kind of open it up, get this bow going, and then I fold it in half. And that one side just wants to stay twisted. Twisted sister. Okay, come on, tell it who's boss. And then I'm gonna fold it in half like so, okay? And put a glue dot on the knot, and then that's gonna slide right in behind her back. Okay, so it doesn't look like much, does it? It's just kind of a bow folded in half. And I have this really on the wrong edge. I need to come in from here. And this is just going to tuck under her hip. Whoops, hello. There it is. And then, you know, love this take your pick tool because you can just kind of reach in there and start to play with these pieces and then make them turn the way you want and trim if you need to, anything, but just kind of clean this up just a little bit. There's cute right there. It's almost like she has little wings. And then in your packet, you have 3 champagne rhinestones. And I loved the way the champagne, at first I was thinking, oh, well, I really want yellow, but they go yellow, even though they're champagne to start with, they really kind of turn yellow once they start to hit this card. I mean, they're already yellow, but I mean, they really take on a yellow tone as they come into this little card here. Okay, whoops, hello. It's really stuck on the take your pick tool. And now it's stuck to me because I have glue on my fingernail. Get on there. Okay, 20 minutes later. Oh my goodness, you guys, sorry. There's that. And the last one, I just kind of have it tucked in over here. All right, now for the fun. Let's let the dancing donkeys begin. Come on to scene. Let's do this first one. And this first one, I'm just gonna glue it kind of right in here like so. And so what I'm gonna do is just, and I'm kind of facing this one downward just a little bit because the other one's gonna face up and I don't want them in the exact orientation. So, but if that's what you, you know, kind of visualize or grab this, that you're only gonna put glue on his belly, maybe the bottom of his feet right here, and then, you know, you just don't want too much glue, but you need enough glue that it doesn't get caught up on the other one, okay? A little bit there. And we're gonna tuck that back in. Okay, and so make sure that you know that it's going to be right in there. Okay. I'm going to face him down just a little bit more. Just a wee bit more. So the nice thing about the green cap glue is it does move. Now, if you find that you need more glue, I use like a scrap of paper and tuck it in there, but we'll see if it gets caught up on anything in a minute. Okay, that one there. And now this one, this piece here, we're gonna put glue just on this flap. And the thing to know is glue on vellum makes the vellum curl. So you could use tear and tape. However, I used tear and tape and it came apart. Stamp and seal, I didn't try. Seal Plus, I didn't try. That's what I didn't try. But I'm going to use the green cap glue because I really find this works the best. But you'll see here that I'm covering it, but I'm not overloading it. All right, now here's what's kind of funky is this is going to open up, and I want you to, so I have this flap facing me, right? Now you're going to turn it over, and it's going to come in right there like that. Okay, we're going to put it on that back side. And I want to put it down low enough that it doesn't show when the card, because see how it's going to kick up just a little bit. Okay, but now that that's on there and we have accessed it, and then let me just kind of really burnish that on there. Okay, kind of just training it, letting it dry. But now I'm going to put glue on this panel right here, and we can glue that down. And once you know how to do these, you could glue this down and you can still tuck in and reach these, but sometimes it's nice to see visually where it's going. Okay, so now kind of shut everything, and then just naturally, even if it doesn't line up perfect, but mine does, let it go where it's naturally gonna fall and close, if you know what I mean. Okay. We'll let that one set up as well. And now for the piece de resistance, adding in the bucking dancing donkey. Okay, so it has a tendency to want to come up on top of that one, but you just, when you enclose it for whoever's going to get it, you get it ready. So I'm actually going to open this up, and if you look at this, he's getting caught on the ear. You can kind of see the positioning of what the donkey is. You know, he's almost looking straight down. This one here is almost looking straight down on these two. So I kind of know that it's gonna be in that area, right? But I will say, if you have to, on another one that I did, I had to trim some vellum away. Okay, so I kind of know that's where it's gonna go, and I'm gonna put less glue on than you think, because you can always come back in, and I'm going to show you how we're going to glue it down with where, you know, if it's hanging off somewhere. But you want less glue because you don't want it to stick on anything. Okay, so it's right about in there. Okay, so I know he's going to need some glue behind his back. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm actually picking up my trash can right now, and I'm finding a scrap of paper, any old scrap of paper, and I use these as like glue spatulas. And I just put a little bit of glue on a corner of paper like that. And now this way I know that I'm not gonna get glue where I don't want glue, because I don't want it on him. I only want it, so I don't want any glue where there's no vellum, if you know what I mean. Okay, and so his front, oh, and I just got glue right there. Just wipe that off. Okay, so I'm really making sure his feet have got to be glued down, or it catches on things. So just know. Okay, there it is. So I'm going to need to do just a little adhesive remover right there when that's good and dry. Now, you can see I have just me bring this up to you. I don't know if you can see this right here where my fingers, there's a tiny bit of vellum showing. And so I'm just gonna trim that tiny little piece off. Now, I tried this card and I did it with window sheet, but the window sheet that we have right now is so heavy that it wasn't staying stuck into the card no matter what adhesive I used. And I just found that I liked the vellum better, okay? So I'm almost ready to check this one out, see if it's working properly, but I wanna get rid of this adhesive because if I close it in there, it's just gonna get stuck. Good thing for adhesive removers, right? Okay, I think that's good. I have a little bit of vellum showing right there, so I'm going to take it same as when it was behind his back. I'm just going to remove this tiny little, of course I don't know if I can get to it and see. There we go. So I'm just taking that little corner off, that way it doesn't show. Just the fine details, folks. Okay, put him, get in there. Get. Okay, so see this one's, he's kind of, I'm glad that I've got his head. He's kind of looking up. That way they're not exactly side by side. Anyway, so now, yeehaw, yeehaw. Yeah, this one's working good. So there you have it. Okay, double Z fold wiper card. Cuteness. Do you like it? I do. I think it's really cute. So anyhow, there you have it. There is project number 2 in the books. Darling Donkeys number 2, all done. Moving right along to our last one. I absolutely love the finished look of our next project. It just is so cute. I hope you like it too. And I'll tell you, the inspiration came from Denise. She liked this little mini lunchbox that we did in Paper Pumpkin last month that I decided to do a variation on it. So when we did this lunchbox last month in Paper Pumpkin, it was a 1/4 sheet of paper. This one here is a 1/2 sheet of paper of cardstock, and it's very simple to make, but oh, you guys, this is so cute. You pull off the little, the clip, the library clip, open it up, and you can personalize it, make a cute little Easter basket. By the way, these are the Dove. Let me see if I can get that into the camera. These are the Dove peanut butter chocolates, and the color with this paper, this is not the Flower and Field paper. This is Flower for Every Season. So this paper is in the annual catalog. It's a 6x6 pack of paper, okay? And that's what we're gonna make this one out of. So let's put this one together. It's pretty easy, but let's start with a little stamping. And what you're gonna need to do is go back to your sheet of paper where you were stamping some donkeys, right? And we need this one, but we're going to stamp it in Night of Navy, okay? Night of Navy is our color for most of our stamping in this particular project. Grab my Night of Navy right here. Just cleaning things up. And so you have plenty of room to do this one right in here. I'm just gonna turn this, here we go. There it is, right there in the corner. And I'm gonna let that one dry. And I'm gonna fussy cut that out. And also in your smalls, so everything left in the smalls bag is for this project. So let's take these out for right now since we are stamping. These 2 stitched white squares are from the Stitched Frames dies set. And we need our dancing donkey. Gonna clean off the black and use the Night of Navy. And on one of these, I'm gonna stamp him, and he's just kind of like, yoo-hoo, yeehaw. He's having a good time right there. That one you don't have to cut out, yay. Okay, that one's gonna get colored. This one here, we're going to stamp, hee-haw, you're the best. So let's get the You're the Best. Got to clean off the shaded spruce and pull out your Magenta Madness, because Magenta Madness will be one of our colors. And also clean the Hee Haw. Okay, stamp off. So the Hee Haw is just going to come right up in here towards the top. Hee Haw. That really is a funny stamp. And then You're the Best. Now, did I do this in navy? Yes, I did. I had to double check and make sure. Okay, just tap. You don't need to smoosh your stamp into the thing. And then just stamp that right below the Hee Haw. Okay, and set those aside to dry, because I can see just with the light on here that those are still a little bit wet. So let those dry before we actually do anything with them. But coming back to this one here, I think this one's pretty dry. So once it's dry, go ahead and you can color it and then cut it. But if you want to fussy cut it out, I've already fussy cut mine. And let's color this one. This one, we're going to use Petal Pink. We're going to use Seaside Spray. And we're going to use a little bit of Misty Moonlight. And let's go back and let's bring in just a little bit of gray. The Smoky Slate, light or dark, whichever one, and the Color Lifter. So same ones as before. And let's give this cute little donkey some color action here. And again, if you wanted to watercolor this instead of stamp and blend, you would have needed to stamp in basic archival ink, that sort of thing, whichever is going to be waterproof for you. Okay. So this one has a little sass and style. Let's start with the light Petal Pink. Just like we did on the yellow donkey, I started with the muzzle, and I'm going to do a little in her ears, okay? And I'm going to come into the darker and just kind of add some character, and even in her ears, just a little bit. And then this is where it gets kind of wild and crazy. Magenta Madness, just a teeny tiny little bit of this. And it's just to kind of bring this color into her that we have in the paper, from the paper. So what I've done here is I've done just 3 little swooshes, a little bit on her nose and a little in her ears. And now I'm going to take my lighter Petal Pink and just kind of work that and blend that in her on her muzzle, her nose, and then in her ears just a little bit. And it's amazing how that little bit of color just brings her to life and makes her really cute. I'm done with these 3 colors, hopefully for now. So let's go to our light Seaside Spray. And I'm just going to add a little bit of color, just like we did on the others, in her hair and her ears. You know, maybe gonna leave one eye open. Like I say, I've done each one a little different. Maybe leave her belly a little more white on her belly showing. And her tail. And get that other hoof. And then with the darker blue, I'm gonna add just a little bit of swoosh here and there. Definitely, this is the darker Seaside Spray. And I'm just kind of throwing some color in. I'm not doing anything fancy. I mean, that's kind of scritchy scratch, ugly muggly, but that's okay. And I'm gonna dot, really kind of get these hooves going, some in the tail. And I'm gonna come in on the nose, maybe a little bit in the hair, her scruff on top. And then back to my light Seaside Spray. Actually, I'm going to use the bullet tip to really kind of direct my ink and really kind of blend those. And, you know, because where these dots are, I don't want them to be dots. I want them to blend. And these dots are a little heavy. I may need to come in with my darker, kind of blend these in just a little bit. This is the darker Seaside Spray. just to give it a little bit of help. Yeah, that's turning out cute. And it's amazing, you do stuff and you're like, what did I just do? That doesn't look good. And then you turn around and it dries and you're like, oh, that's so cute. What did I do? That's so cute. Again, a little color lifter, the magic marker here. It does a little bit of blending and a little bit of lifting. And ta-da, you have a really cute donkey for the front of your lunch basket. I've actually called this a one sheet wonder box because it's with one sheet of paper, you make a wonderful box. Okay, so that's ready to go. Let's go ahead and get it ready even further. Let's just load it up with some dimensionals. Okay, that one's ready to go. And you didn't see me do this, but I've already colored my inside donkey. So here we stamped it just a minute ago, but this one here I've colored ahead of time. And I noticed I did some gray in this one, and I said I would do some gray. I think I do want some gray in this one as well, just a little bit. And so I'm just gonna do, just kind of tie them in. And it's interesting that this just little knobby knees, a little in his face, that little bit of gray, it's kind of like adding that tiny bit of magenta in there. It just brings it to life. And adds that little bit of, it lifts. So I'm just gonna kind of blend that just a little bit more with the blue. Okay, now we have our donkeys done. They are done and ready for our assembling and our creating of the box, because you're gonna have to do a little bit of work on this one. But in your packing envelope, you have some pieces here. This is more of the Love You Always foil. This is the Rococo Rose. We saw this last month, but man, it's such a pretty pack. And look how great it looks with this paper. Just to show you that it was, you know, it mixes with a lot of stuff. This piece here, actually, I knew there was one more set of dies that I used, and I don't know the name of it. It's for the, remember the Poppy set from last year that was really awesome? This is from that set, as well as one of the labels we're going to use here in just a second. So let's just prep this while we have it in our hands. I'm going to put 3 dimensionals on the back of this just for balance, as it's kind of adhered on. That's ready to go. And we have 2 larger pieces of the flowers for every season. You can use any side you want. This kind of has a Christmas look to it, or a wintry feel. So we're not really going that direction. If you love yellow, you can use the yellow as well. But I really like how the pinks are picked up in this. And so let's prep these. These are 3 by 6. You guys just need to chop these right in half. But you don't need to maintain on this one. You know, we always kind of like to make sure but they're on front and back, so you'll never know. So you don't have to worry about it for this one. And I believe that's all the cutting you're going to need to do for that, but we need to do some scoring. So not a ton of scoring, but a little bit. And so the scoring that we're going to do, you already have, and so this is a half sheet of cardstock, 5.5 by 8.5. And I have already scored it at, and I'm going to get my cutting blade out of the way. I've already scored it at 3.5, okay? Now, I find that, you know, you could slide this down and score it at 5, but for some reason, this just works better if I turn it and make it exact and score this at 3.5 from the other side. So now, everybody should have a 3.5 and a 3.5, okay? So you should have that. Now, the other 2 scores, we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to score it at 1 1/4, okay? From top to bottom, 1 1/4. Take it out, turn it 180 degrees, and do 1 1/4 again. Okay, so just to review so that no one's confused, your cardstock is a half sheet. You're going to score it at 1 1/4, from the edge, take it out and turn it, and score it at 1 1/4. Okay? Take it out and turn it, and along the long ways, the first score that we did, score it at 3 1/2. Take it out and turn it, score it at 3 1/2. Okay? So you will see in the photo library that there is a pattern for this, but it does actually have the 3 1/2, 5, you know, it has the other markings, but that's how I have a little bit more success. Now, we need to put some cuts in this. So we are going to cut along the score line right to that edge, okay? And then we're gonna start again at this edge. So bear with me as I do this one, but put your paper so that that score line is perfectly in the track, and take your cutting blade and stop when you get to the first score line, okay? Pick your blade up, send it down just a little further, and you're gonna push it back into your cardstock at the second score line and bring it down. Same exact thing on the other side. Put your score line in the gutter of your trimmer, the scorer, and let's bring this down. Go slow, because you're gonna stop, and you'll see there you have these little lines on the side. You're gonna stop at the score line, pick it up, move it to the next one, and bring it on down. Okay, so we're not done with our cutting machine just yet. I want you, so now we have these, it's kind of like, you know, we have these side flaps in the middle. Bend the middle flap back, and now I just want you to trim off some of this, okay? So we need to trim off, we need to make sure, so it is 3 1/2, but we just need to trim some off, because it'll just fit better, and it's not an exact, you can see I'm taking a little bit, you know, maybe 1/8 of an inch off, okay? So those two, okay, trash that, we don't need it. And now let's do the same thing on the other side. Fold the middle back, and let's just take some of this off the edge, okay? Voila. Okay, that's it for the cutting of this. We can take that away. So now let's assemble our box here, and this is pretty easy to do. What we're going to do is fold on all the score lines, fold inward, and then so we fold it inward. Now we need to fold our sides inward. So this one goes in. This one is also going to come, and I'm just going to kind of fold it all the way in, okay? So everything's folding in, right? So now we're going to take these two long tabs, and we're going to bring them inward, and it looks like I need to trim a little bit more off, and that's okay. So we just need to know, I didn't want to cut too much off, but it looks like we need to take more. We need to remove more. So as you can see here, because it can't go past this line, so we need to take off probably another 3/8 of an inch off each edge here. So I lied. Bring your trimmer back in, fold this back, and let's take off another, not quite a half, okay? I know we're cutting twice, but it's better to cut not too much off the first time. Now watch, I need to cut even more. Okay, so we'll take that off. Let's check it. Oh, bingo, we're good. Okay, so now these all come inward. Kind of, these guys need to go to the back. So you might want to, if you're interested, you might want to take a picture right now of how much we've removed, just so you if you want to, okay? I'm gonna kind of turn that so you can see it. Okay, if you took a picture, great. Okay, I'm gonna move it in 3, 2, 1. Okay, now these are gonna fold inward, and we're gonna glue these together. These fold inward, glue them together, and that's how we're making the box bottom. And literally, we're done making the box. Then you just bring these two up and pinch them together. Talk about an easy box. It's a one sheet. It's a wonder. So a little bit of glue on the inside tab on this. Okay. Whoa. Kind of got out of my hands here. And this is going to come in and glue like so. Just kind of hold them together. Now you want to make sure, because your tabs these tabs might be a little bit shorter, don't over pull them in, but make sure they're square. Okay. Kind of burnish that adhesive. Hold this one and let's put some glue on this one as well. Get over here. The angle I was at, I was never going to get it on. Okay. Close that. Bring this over. And when it's done, it's kind of a gable box. It kind of looks like an old-fashioned lunch box. But this one, instead of gluing this up like we did before and then tying this shut, I liked that this one flops open. And it flops open. You could put, you could do a longer version if you wanted, but you know, you could put money, gift card, photo, but instead we are going to put our donkeys. Not yet, we're gonna put our paper. Let's design the inside, then we'll design the outside. So your two blue pieces are going to layer inside like so, and it doesn't really matter how you do them because they're square. But just put those both on. And I'm just putting them evenly. I mean, you could put it all the way to the top, you could do what you want, but I'm just leaving an even amount at the top and an even amount at the bottom. Just keeping it easy. Okay, so that's 3 inches wide, 3 inches square. What do you want to say? And then this 3-inch square is going on the opposite side. So the kind of the nice thing about this box is once you design it, you don't have to design, design half and then you're done. Then just repeat. And not that I'm always into everything being equal from side to side, but this one, it just kind of makes sense. Okay. Now the pieces that we stamped are going to come in here and the hee-haw. And these, you could glue these in or you can put them in with dimensionals. Let's see, what did I do? I actually put them in with dimensionals, but I wonder if gluing them might be smarter. I don't know. But I'm going to go ahead and, just because when you close the box, it gets a little bit pudgy. But we're going to dimensional because I like the look of dimensionals. And it works for me. Okay. And so that's I'm just going to glue him here. So you could sign your name. You can do whatever you want, but I just thought it was a cute way of just adding a little bit of quick decor there. This one also 4 dimensionals. Boom. Just double fisting them here. Look at that. Peel those off. And bring this around. And then just center that right in your 3-inch square. Okay. And now in your smalls bag, you have a couple pieces of more of the flowers for every season. You have more of this DSP. So you decide, you know, you should have a pretty bright pink. You might have this one again. Anyways, you have a bright piece, but they are designed to just go on these, the sides of the box here. And just glue these in place. I mean, it's a no-brainer. Okay, and leave a little, it's not an exact fit. It has a little bit of blue matting around the edge, okay? Same thing here, you'll have a little bit of a blue edge all the way around. And then the inside of this, it actually, as I bought some Easter candy and I thought, man, that's bigger than I thought it would be. But this actually holds, you know, a fairly decent amount of stuff. But there's the inside, and so you can easily put some crinkle paper or Easter grass in there and put a few things, and then it's going to close up. So now let's design the outside of our box. And so these are designed to each go on the front, just like we did on the inside. Keeping it easy here. This is a box I would definitely repeat. And I think I have an idea for, you know, another version, a larger version. We'll just keep making them bigger and bigger. So we did a quarter sheet, half sheet. Now what will the full sheet look like? Okay, let's do the other side. Now these papers, you know, they're not necessarily, I think this is more up than that would be. So you just want to make sure that you're not just putting them on, but that when you bring the sides up, they are upright, if you know what I mean. Just kind of watch how you're placing your paper, if your paper has a direction. Okay, centered on that. Now, let's just, this is the back. That's why I kind of looked real fast so that when this opens, it says you're the best and then the donkey's upright. So this is going to layer on the front, our foil piece. This is a great die cut. It just adds for a fun, spunky look, which I thought fit these donkeys nicely. Okay, and in your smalls bag, oh, I found my circle that I needed for the first card. Okay, I'll use that tomorrow. These last few pieces are all for this project. Even the little clasp, the library clasp, or the, I'm not even sure what they're called, but they're in the January-June catalog and they're cool. Okay, this, we're not gonna stamp anything on this. This is another one of the, it's a piece cut from the stitched frames dies. You know, that's like a really good pair of jeans or a black skirt, or, you know, you got to have stitched shapes. It just, circles, squares, ovals with stitching. How classic is that? And then this is just going to layer right inside the stitching line of the die, the foil die. Okay. And then let's take this piece here and then let's just fold it in half and burnish it with our bone folder. And this one is going to, and I'm going to put just a little bit of glue on the inside here. I'm going to hold this in place just so it doesn't get lost when things open and shut. And I'm going to tuck it down underneath. And I'm not going to totally close it down on top. I'm going to leave just a little bit of a gap, and I'm just centering that. So I'm leaving like maybe, I don't know, a little bit more than 1/8 of an inch, just to give it, so it's not flat on there. It's just giving it a little bit of added. Okay, so that's going to go there, and then obviously it's going to pinch it shut. But for now, we'll just leave it like that. A little bit more Stampin'. We're not quite done. Grab Night of Navy. And this is another, this is Seaside Spray, but this is just a smaller version from that same Stitched Shapes die set. And this is just going to stamp right in the middle. Hey there, friend. Just put that right in the middle of that. Cute. Cute little saying. Okay. Let that dry a little bit. And since I have the ribbon in my hand, so these clasps, you may have a gold one, you may have a silver one. I believe you get 20 of them, and 10 silver, 10 gold, but they're super cool. Just kind of fun. Just go ahead and open your clasp, what are they called? I don't even know. Anyhow, this is just going to, we're just going to bring this around, bring it through, and tie it in a bow, like we did everything else. And it doesn't matter where on the clip it is, because you can slide it around to where you want it. So just like that. Hunker down a cute bow. And take your ends and kind of, let's see if my bow is even here. A little bit more on that one. And I'm going to kind of hold my ends and trim them. I'm just going to do them on an angle. Ta-da! Cuteness. Okay. And now I'm going to, because right now mine's on the side, I'm just going to kind of slide it around to where it looks good. And go ahead and pinch your box shut. And it's going to kind of poke out on the sides, but that's cute. Okay, it's okay. So that's how you're going to hold it shut. I need to center my bow better, or I can keep it off kilter like that. Anyhow, these pieces are going to come in like so. Okay, let's add a dimensional to this one, to the back. And now this, I'm going to peel this off, and I'm going to peel the donkey, and they're both going to share. They're going to split center, if you know what I mean. So I'm going to, again, kind of use, I mean, the donkey's going to be on there quite a bit, but there we go. Kind of like so. And these last two flowers, if you might recognize these flowers, but these were punched from the Strawberry Builder Punch. So if you had that bundle from last month, look how cute these are. They work on all kinds of things. And in your jewel bag, you have two last little gems. And these are actually retired gems. They are the black iridescent pearls from the Halloween section in the holiday catalog. But they look so good. I had to share them with you. They looked so good with this. I'm like, oh, that's so cute. We're going to do it anyway. So just take these. We're going to put that in the middle, just like normal old flower. But then we're going to distress this flower and bring it up and around as our last finishing touch. Okay. And so the reason I put the rhinestone, or not the rhinestone, but the pearl, it's got pearl on first, is so I can kind of use it as leverage to kind of come up and around it. Okay. So I'm just kind of pinching it, molding it, giving it some life and character. Same thing on this one. That little bit of leverage just kind of helps. That was always a saying at Opera San Jose, leverage is our friend. That's how we would move things that were too big for us to move. Leverage is our friend. So there we have some little flowers with a little bit more character. And then that our very last step here for today is to add these with a couple glue dots. And, you know, just kind of setting these. One's going to go down in there, and then the second one right above it, kind of kitty corner from it. And there you have it. There you have a one sheet wonder box that is super cute, super stylish, super fun. Let's get it in the camera. And I'll bring my other one back in here so you can see it as well. It looks like, you guys, the difference on these two, guess what I did on my original? I said the flowers were the last thing. I actually, I did paint, and I didn't follow the lines. I just kind of put a whole bunch of Wink of Stella right over the word friend, and then I did her. Just a little bit on that, on this donkey. Makes it kind of cute. Gotta love Wink of Stella, right? And then, oh yeah, that's what it needed. That and my flowers need just a little bit more character. There we go. There you have it. And I'll show this one open again one more time so you can see it with the eggs and the little crinkle in there. There it is. So I hope you have enjoyed making some darling donkey projects. You know, feel free to share the things you make on our group page. Would love to see what you're making with this stamp set or whatever, any stamp sets. Share as we all learn from one another. Any questions, feel free, just shoot me a text, or not a text, but an email or a comment is what I meant to say there in our group page. And I will catch you tomorrow night, 6:30 p.m. via Zoom. Write this number down if you don't have it handy. It is in the email, but the Zoom number is always the same. It is 901-771-5257. Password, ink spots, all capital letters. ink spots in all capital letters. So there you have it. Join us tomorrow night. If you have questions or you want to see something again, I will be making these, maybe not quite as extensively as I just did, but definitely going over some of the measurements and the folds and that sort of thing. So catch you tomorrow. Thanks for being here. You guys are awesome. It's fun to stamp with y'all.